Hotline FN, the live call-in show for your hot takes, bold predictions, and unpopular opinions surrounding the competitive Fortnite scene. This is episode... Oh, I'm about to get it wrong. I think this is episode 24. We're moving on up. We're making things happen. This is our fourth set of 6. Isn't that crazy? Math. We got some special guests this week. Bala had to call an audible this evening, so we have as our lovely co-host Shyowager, and as our special guest we have an incredibly important, vital even West competitive player, RichHomieQuinn. Oh, we're getting there, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Hey.
What is up?
Yo. First thing I gotta notice. Holy hell, these shirts are fire. Like brothers, like.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we're vibing. We're vibing so hard. Yeah. Oh,
we're on vacation. We're on vacation.
Dude, yeah. March just started. Like, I can feel summer coming. I can feel it in my bones. It's like opposite of arthritis. I'm starting to like thaw out a little bit, you know? Loving it.
Happy vibes for those late game C4 plays. You already know. Get there first, so when it happens, you're chilling, right? Like, that's the way.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Booga's happy place, but we're just waiting for it to be here, like, entirely, right? All right, well, Shyo, I mean, it's been a second. What have you been up to in this last week, man? What's been happening for you?
In the process of trying to acquire a visa. Other than that, like, big chilling. Valorant, that big hype was all around happening in that game, and whatnot. So trying to balance my schedule and playing Fortnite, but also getting like my CS aimed down. Just because summer has a bunch of games, right? We're all content creators and we play multiple games. But yeah, just like analyzing some stuff about Fortnite, how the meta is developing, and then playing some CS. But that not much.
Heck yeah. I mean, those seems like solid ways to spend your time.
Mm-hmm.
Dope. Quinn, what about you, man? I mean, first off, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean,
it's my pleasure.
Hell yeah. So what have you been up to this last week?
So 2 days ago, I got partnered on Twitch. So
woo! Congratulations! This is my one-handed clap.
Thank you. And I'm just playing a lot of duo scrims, trying to figure out a duo. Been playing solos a lot, but looks like there might be a duo competition coming up in the near future. So I've been just grinding out some duo scrims.
Heck yeah. I've spent a bunch of time on duo scrims. A lot of people have been spending a lot of time on duo scrims. This is where like a lot of where the it is at. Or have we kind of given up on trios maybe happening at this point?
I mean, I just think it's just like there's no arena for trios right now. So it's just like we can't practice trios just because it's like duo and solo arena, I think, right?
Yeah, yep. That's all that's out right now. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, before we hop into this, I want to reiterate the format of the show. So this is a call-in show. We want to talk to you being viewers, the guys, the ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else sitting at home, staring at your phone, staring at your screen. You're not doing anything better, probably. Hop on a mic, hit ! Hotline FN in the chat, get you a link to the Discord, submit your topic, your hot take, your bold prediction, your unpopular opinion, not a question. We want to hear your thoughts, and we want to talk about it. ! Hotline FN gets you there. All right, guys. So a big thing that happened this week. So we had a couple changes to Henchmen. We were talking about just before we went live. We lost Matt's on kill from Henchmen, and they don't give storm surge tags anymore. They don't count. The damage to Henchmen doesn't count towards avoiding storm surge. So those are two, like, at face value may not seem that huge, but from a competitive standpoint, like, those are some like hefty changes to the way arena works. Like, obviously before, storm surge just didn't work while Henchmen were in the game, right? Like, it was just too simple. Like, especially if playing zone rules scrims, everyone's just gonna go tag a couple of Henchmen. How have you seen this week play out with the lack of mats and stuff? Like, how do you feel this has affected those drop spots, Quinn?
So storm surge, it used to be more difficult to get, especially because a lot of people were like planning their drop spots around the Henchmen, and now the next week everyone just has to switch up their drop spots and sort of how they play, how they rotate.
Yeah.
I also think it's sort of like debuffed the Henchmen spots, just because early game it's hard to fight the Henchmen because they have aimbot most of the time, and you don't get the mats off the kill. So you got to make sure you farm up before you hop into the houses or whatnot.
Do you think it maybe directed towards you here, Shyo, do you think that it puts a greater emphasis on some of these strats we've seen of people like having the perfect route to drop in, totally avoid all the Henchmen and sneak through and get right to the boss in the vault or whatever? Like, do you think that
Like,
there's less incentive to even fight the henchmen at all at this point?
I mean, fighting henchmen from like the get go, in a sense, has always just been for speed purposes. Like, you can just roll right through them, half a mag, you're going to where you need to get to, right? If you're doing the
Yeah.
disguise, that just takes so much time and like kind of throws you off drop a bit, because from what I've noticed, every single disguise machine on every single mythic POI is far away from most of the chests that are available. I think except for the grotto, you have a few that are next to you, but for a majority of the POIs, if you're going disguise, you are slowing down a lot. You are not going to be at the same pace as everyone, but at the same time, going to be a little bit more low key. So when it just came to normal henchmen fighting, the fact that, you know, they did drop mats was huge for early game. It was more so just for the speed of all the other loot. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of an effect when you don't have like, you know, 300 mats immediately after a few seconds when you're fighting and whatnot. But the big thing with mostly duos, because that's what I've trying to been watching this week. The main
Yeah.
thing with duos when it comes is just like space control, man. Like a lot of these mythic POIs just have these pockets where like it's like the best route possible. Usually they're not disguise routes, and like if a duo controls them, like they just win it out with those 50 mats per category or not on the henchmen. So like I don't think it's a huge change. I think everyone who's kind of played has already gotten used to it and past it. Quinn, you
Sure.
can agree or not agree, but like yeah.
Mm. So when it comes to like if you get double contested at a one of those mythical spots, the henchmen sometimes third party, which is I think the biggest thing that I've noticed when it comes to duo scrims. But yeah, I feel like the effect isn't too big, especially once players figure out how to rotate around it and get away from the henchmen.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think the only real like consideration is that you're probably leaving the spots, especially I'm thinking like ones like the rig where there isn't like a ton of like readily available mats, especially of all three types. So you're probably leaving with less mats, but for these drops you already knew you needed to leave quickly. And I can't imagine there's not enough to be topping off. Do you find that players running these strats are, getting further into the game with less mats than they maybe should, or has it just not really been? I mean, there's plenty on the field, right? Like,
Dude, like you leave like agency, for example, you leave that drop leaving behind like, you know, more materials than like for two squads after you fully upgraded your loadout. So like either way, it's like they're still pretty OP. Like,
okay,
you know, if you're leaving with less, like you're either exiting Slurpee, you're coming through Steamy, like you're coming through places where there's so much brick and metal available, no matter what drop you're choosing. You're big chilling, man. Like there's no mythic POIs. Like, what can I say?
just take the sword and apply it to whole
Yeah,
entire areas of
literally,
the
yeah.
map. Yeah,
It was a
Shing
cool,
Shing landings.
it was like a good nerf for like the 50-50 off spawn, but I don't think it affects the POIs negatively or positively overall.
All right, yeah, I think that makes sense. We have our first caller though. It's Resprit calling in hot.
Hello,
how are
guys.
you doing today, man? What you wanna talk about?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, Shio. Hey, Quinn. Hey, Tim.
How's it going, man?
So today I kind of wanted to talk about the current story of the Fortnite kind of period that we're in right now. And what I posed for the topic was that we're kind of in this more back to basics fundamental era after having gone through this big surge of like a bunch of mechanical technology after like the PG creative, even like box fighting periods. And after chapter 2 launched with the lack of mobility, with players starting to have to look towards different ways of improving beyond just working on their mechanics, developing better, I guess what most people would call game sense in a lot of ways, but Tim knows I don't really love that term. So examples of this could be like the wall ramp tunnel suddenly becoming way more popular, even though that's not brand new as a tunneling method. It is a more efficient one, and players being more mindful of when they need to be conserving their mats during rotates. Just having a better understanding of maybe these like underlying systems that exist in the game, since people have started to kind of plateau off when it comes to these mechanical differences between players. And the one last thing I want to say is just, I think it'd be interesting to situate this discussion in terms of Fortnite's entire history so far, at least competitively, kind of starting with these like what the heck is going on, and then hey, we can like actually practice because we have PG and creative now, and to where we are now. So just curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I think that your first point almost about the about things like the ramp tunnels becoming more popular, that's really interesting to me because you're right, like it's not new, and there have been a few different mechanics like this during Chapter 2 Season 1 that really kind of took off in ways they hadn't before. And you're right, like they're not a new mechanic. It wasn't somebody showing off some cracked skill or ability that suddenly popularized these. It was just out of necessity, like we need to be saving more mats or we're screwed next zone. You know what I mean? How do we do that? All right, I guess we got to start using ramp tunnels. Before it wasn't as necessary, like you said, in a game sense way, especially with mobility and different ways to get impact frags that we just haven't had for a while now. That makes that type of tunneling like way more important. And I think that had we stayed in that meta, we would see more and more of that. I think we saw plenty of it as it is, but as we move away from it and we add things like mobility back in, and we add easy ways to get impact frags back in, like C4, that the necessity for those things drops again, and the decision process kind of floats backwards to I'd rather be fully and completely protected or own more space than do the ramp tunnels. I don't know, Quinn. Already with our current meta with the launchpad coming back, have you seen anything like that?
Yeah, so I feel like game sense was sort of really important, and knowing how to rotate and how to like conserve your mats is really important in the last meta. But now I feel like you could sort of get easier impact frags, especially the heavy sniper. You could just take a wall and you can just body a team if they aren't expecting it. So sometimes overbuilding and making a like if you don't do a ramp tarp is better, so you can do a reverse ramp if someone tries to go for a heavy snipe play or something like that. But again, I think we're so new into the season, and I feel like the meta has shifted completely from season 1 to season 2.
Yeah.
So I think all the players are just sort of figuring out their sort of groove. I think a harpoon too was super huge in addition of season 1.
Yeah.
That's still going to be really used in season 2. So you might see more full tarps when it comes to duos and stuff like that, just so you can harpoon loot or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, just like
I'm
recap.
curious, Quinn, if you think how much do you think the meta changes season to season? Like how much do you think the way players are going about improvement, how much do you think that depends on kind of the current set of items, POIs, whatever that we have? And how much do you think depends on just community cultural changes over time?
So when it comes to season, I feel like at the very start, people play the same as they would in the last season, but then they start implementing new things little by little. Because if you try to implement all these new things in the game, then it's often very sloppy. And what I personally try to do, I try to take portions of what other people's gameplay and implement it into mine to make mine gameplay better, and just take like all the positives. Uh, so I sometimes don't try experimenting myself when it comes to too much in scrims, because it could be frustrating or whatnot and kind of be like discouraging. So that was that. And then what was your second part of the question?
Um, so like I'm thinking about like creative, for example, in that after creative came out, players got really excited to innovate with new building techniques and just like different more mechanically, how do I want to word this? Basically, there was this boom in technology, is what I'd
Yes.
like to put it as.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself kind of influenced the way players decided to improve themselves and approach the game. And I'm curious how you think that's kind of factoring in now, because we have the seasonal difference, but I wonder if you see any competitive community level differences as well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so when it comes to, like Zone Wars was huge, it comes to PG and box fighting. Also we got to sort of think like turbo building was a huge meta change when it came to building. That came with the PG, and like being able to change your controller sensitivity when it comes to building. I think all these sort of
Yeah,
factor
that was huge.
into sort of improving your mechanics, and it makes it easier for us to, be better as a player and do more advanced like mechanics.
Shio, you had a thought on this topic.
My thought got pushed right out the door, man. I'm big chilling. Like, I think Quinn answered all the questions that were here for Quinn 100%.
Quinn's killing this topic. Yeah, like no kidding. Yeah, I think that you know a lot. We had a period, like you said, this technology boom that was born not out of necessity, but out of desire for things like flashiness and clips, and then to an extent, definitely a strong extent in our community specifically. You know, trying to find things that are as effective as possible, right? A classic example is you've got people showing off flashy ways to tarp and save mats, and then Calculator coming in on the Reddit post and saying, why the hell are you editing your high ground tarp? Like, that's such a dumb thing, right? We kind of step through these steps of like, here's all these crazy cool things we can do, and then like whittle it down to like what's actually useful. But then even that, thanks to the like intense pressure cooker that was season 1 of chapter 2, that even got whittled down even further to like, here are the things that really work, that can serve us mats and still do their job and stuff. And we've just more fully explored the game because of that. Even if we revert to a meta where, you know, that super low level doesn't become as necessary, and we get to use more of those like mid-tier technologies when it comes to building and mechanics. Like, it's great that we had the exposure and covered all of these, you know, tighter aspects of the game. So yeah, that's my take. Thanks so much, Respite, for bringing this topic to us.
Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah.
Thank
Shyo,
you.
are we ready for our next caller?
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah. Let's bring him on in. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi everyone. I'm Alric. I'm calling from the UK at 1:30 a.m. And today I've got a very hot take. I think quite a controversial one about
super spicy. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, about basically about how the current situation in Fortnite and the way that the esport is run focuses too much on players and not enough on spectators, and how basically I think that mechanistically this just doesn't work and does not allow the esport to prosper in the long term. So basically, yeah, well,
Continue.
this is the point. This is the point of me making this point. So currently, I think we can all agree that Fortnite esport, more than any other esport which we've ever seen, really is really focused on the players. We see these huge tournaments with like 1,000-player finals, and we see these really like prize pools with prizing and prize money going really deep into placement. And I think these are both good examples of how Fortnite esports tries to cater more to having lots and lots of players as opposed to lots of spectators. And this is bad because the problem is, right, as you have more players playing the esport, I think that for each individual player, the overall enjoyment of that esport reduces because the esport gets more competitive. So because there are more players playing, so you have to try harder and you have to grind harder, and you're less likely to win money. And this means that people who play the esport, the more players that play the esport, the worse the esport becomes overall for the players. However, on the opposite side, if you focus the esport entirely on spectators, you want to get as many spectators as possible, it's actually really beneficial to have as many spectators as possible. Because look at ESL Katowice the other day. If you have like 1 million spectators watching at the same time, it's more likely your friends will be watching you, do a viewing party with them. You'll see more content on this. You'll be more excited and more hyped if there are thousands of spectators cheering on people. And therefore, in fact, if you're trying I think just trying to make an esport in which it's designed for the players naturally inhibits the growth of the esports in such a way that it's not actually going to it's never going to be able to grow to full potential, because by growing it's inhibiting itself and going back down. The other problem with this, which is particularly problematic to Apple,
more problems.
Hold up. This wasn't happening.
We gotta take this in chunks. We gotta take this in chunks, Arik.
We got 2 sentences to wrap up everything and give you a nice sandwich meal. All right, 2 sentences. Go. I'm waiting for the periods. I'm listening. Yeah, 2 sentences.
Okay. So if you have an esport focused around the players, it becomes worse for the players if there are more players. And therefore,
sentence 1, go. Yep, we got that. Second sentence.
If you have an esport sentence around spectators, if there are more spectators, it is better for each individual spectator because more of their friends watch it and there is more hype, and therefore the esport grows when more people join.
Yeah, okay, yeah, super. Right. I want to say that my first knee-jerk reaction when you said that Fortnite focuses too much on the players and not on the viewing experience, I was going to laugh in your face because we have C4 and heavy snipers in the game. But then I understood the direction you were taking it better. And then I grokked you a little better. And I got to say, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is how a lot of esports kind of try to model their growth and their systems over like live sports. And that has never really made sense to me, even in the cases where it's worked, like with League of Legends franchise and that kind of stuff, right? Because soccer, you know, football, right? American soccer, American football, right? It wasn't like this like unpopular thing that they had to like work a broadcast around and make popular to the world, right? Like it's popular because all you need is a ball and things to kick a ball between, right? And then it's super approachable. Anyone can start to play it. It was already like this phenomenon, same with baseball, same with basketball, ever before we started having to worry about things like franchising and worrying about things like how do we build viewership and that kind of thing, versus a lot of games that come out and they're trying to do all of this at once, become a popular game and become a popular viewing experience. Fortnite's a little interesting here where like it doesn't need to try to grow, right? Like it's huge already. It's more like a regular sport in that aspect, I think, than even something like League of Legends was. So it's interesting to me because I agree, and there's a lot of paths to move towards increasing viewership. And it's things like how deep they go with the prize pool show to me that they're not a broadcast event with a deep prize pool, like that means less, right? But a broadcast event where you can say this guy's about to qualify for X place and it's this much money, like he's on the money line, that's way more impactful and creates a better viewing experience. So it's interesting to me when we have events that are tighter, those seem better catered to a viewing experience versus something like a Cash Cup or Winter Royale Duos, where it's just like, yeah, you're right, this is 100% player focused. If they want to stream it and make content that way, great, because that's the avenue they take a lot. And it does create that kind of hype, but not this sort of like centralized hype. Shyo, obviously this is something close to your heart. Do you see this sort of like focus on the player style events where decentralized content is pushed, right, through people streaming their individual runs and that kind of thing, versus the idea of consolidated events focused more on that viewership experience than just getting as many players as possible in?
It's like it kind of has to do a little bit less than like the game and the decisions they're making, and more so with like how the market is for esports in a sense. Like in a room, there's only a certain amount of space for everyone to stand in a certain spot, right? Like you can't have people phasing within each other standing on a certain tile. Like think chess. You can't have two pieces on one block, right? So you can't, I understand that Fortnite goes a certain way where it's a little bit less traditional. But like you talk about players burning out when they aren't able to make money amongst all these other players. Like, Valorant was announced. A lot of people are going to be grinding for it in a sense. And I have a feeling it's going to be a big shock value when you realize the game that you wanted Fortnite to be, like the real esport version, a lot harder to make. Your $250 a week, you're already making guaranteed, man. Like I know you're big happy. Your DoorDash, your Uber Eats, you're big chilling. Hey, we're looking for sponsors, by the way. Yeah, hit Tim's DMs. But like, it's like we have it really easy in terms of making money. Like once you're at that level of making money, I get it. You'd like a cooler way to gain your clout and to make that money on a higher level. But like, is Fortnite in a place where they can go that way, right? Or is it like, let these games like Valorant that come out, have them, let Katowice pop off. Like we have our insane up to 200, 300K watch parties when the FNCS goes on, plus even more during the big finals, right? Like we have our lane, and yeah, we can make it a little bit more spectator friendly, but to flip the globe on its head, right? And to, mess up the axes and whatnot, I don't think that's needed for Fortnite. 100% it could be a lot better. Spectating system could be better. But I have a feeling we're in a good lane. We could, I've suggested like the league premise and whatnot, like have a pro league, Premier League qualifiers, add stuff, but we don't need a blinker left lane change is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, Shyo, that's a take not often represented on this show, right? The idea that like, you know what, screw it. As much as we would love to have these bigger events at a more formal setup, like screw it. Like this kind of is working, right? As far as like from Fortnite's perspective go. Yeah. A lot of people are making money, right? And if the way to do what we're talking about is to cut back on that, Like a lot of players aren't going to be happy. Keep it in this decentralized fashion. Let people attach themselves to specific content creators and pros, and like continue to let it be this way. I think that's a great idea, but I think what goes hand in hand with that is the requirement of better third-party tools, which of course is something Bala talks about a lot. I don't know, Quinn, you got any thoughts here?
Yeah, so he was sort of saying like how it's focused too much on the players, which I think is good, but you know, I do agree the spectating is sort of weak. But instead of just taking back on the players, why not just keep increasing the spectating and keep the players where it's at? So, you know, I think that's a win-win situation right there. If we, you know, just if they just focus on spectating and maybe doing every FNCS or whatever, you know, is casted or whatnot. And I'm pretty sure everyone would be happy with that. But yeah, then again, we have viewing parties that, you know, get almost the same amount of exposure. Even if it's not on the Fortnite channel, we have still wonderful production and whatnot. So I don't think there's really not too much we can complain about, since it is pretty easy to get a check off of Fortnite if you put in a certain amount of hours. So I think it's good right now. I would like to see the spectating be a little bit more promoted on Epic Games side.
All right. Yeah. I feel that. I feel like I
I
don't have a lot
think
more
we
value to add there, Ulrich. If you feel like we've covered
Yeah.
this satisfactorily.
Well, I mean, we could talk about this for ages, but I'm aware that time's limited, so I'm trying my best to kind of explain the philosophy behind it. But yeah,
Totally. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thanks for calling in and bringing another topic, Ulrich.
yeah. Thank you very much for having me on the show. See you soon.
Follow this guy on Twitter. He's the real deal. Real deal, Ulrich
Yeah.
8.
Ulrich 8. Thank you. Thank you for the plug, Tim.
Peace out.
Yo, so we talked a little bit about the Henchmen changes this week. Of course, the other thing we had brought in was Senior Heavy Sniper. I don't want to get super into it because I think our next caller wants to talk about this. Let's bring him in. Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Thrills, and I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Whoa, we got too many Canada boys up in here. Too many. All right, well, what did you want to talk about?
All right, so the Heavy Sniper, you know, it comes into Fortnite once again. When it first came out, pros weren't really having it, and everyone started to praise Epic when they first took it out. And you know, now that it's back in the game, and with the zero ping meta, we're seeing a lot of people that are W King and heavy sniping into people's boxes, and we're also seeing more people, you know, pulling some M1Gs just straight through the monitor. But someone also mentioned that it's the most common gun in the loot pool, or one of the most common ones, after only one season of it being vaulted. And now the faction POIs also have scannable chests that are almost guaranteed heavy snipers, which doesn't favor people who have had consistent drop spots for months now. So I just wanted to know what you guys think about, one, the heavy sniper, and two, sort of the low ping meta and what other people that don't have low ping can do about it.
Sure, I think that with so many, first the low ping topic, like definitely intrigues me, right? Because with how many guaranteed ways we have to get into boxes, I think the only time it really matters, and we're talking like on the level of playable pings, like 0 ping versus 30 ping, right? Not like someone trying to grind on 80 ping or whatever, where everything's difficult. It's like when you're trying to take a wall, when you're specifically trying to take a wall. If anything, this meta is kind of buffed higher ping players in that they've got a heavy sniper and they got C4. Like there are plenty of ways for them to force phasing exploits. Throw a ramp over your head, pull out your heavy sniper, you're in the box. Like period, you're in the box. You don't have to worry about responding to a trap in time. You know your game plan. Going in the box, I'm attacking them in the head. I'm spraying them with the mythic drum gun, whatever it is. That's my thought on that. But to back it up, the heavy sniper, I think that you make a great point, right? It feels super awkward that we cried for the longest time. Like, to get rid of this. Like, get rid of the heavy sniper. Like, my opinion on the heavy sniper is it's not reactable enough. There's not enough options against it for it to feel competitive, right? For it to feel good in any way. Sure, it requires skill to hit shots with, but it doesn't, there's no amount of skill that gets you out of that situation when you're on the receiving end, right? Someone's hiding in a bush, they're 150 meters away, bam, you're dead, right? The option is always have 200 shield and pray you don't get hit in the head. And the option is in game, never look at anything, just always in a box, right? I don't know. Shyo, you got anything here?
I mean, Quinn, you've been playing games this, you know, all throughout duels. Like, what do you?
So my sort of stance on this is that once they added heavy snipers, it was good because the only two places to get a heavy sniper, I'm pretty sure, were in Pleasant, and then it was above the Misty area, the henchman spot. So it was sort of like a risk and reward for the heavy snipers. But now you can even get heavy snipers from just killing a henchman carrying one, which I think makes it a little bit too common. And
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
thing to sort of talk about is how when they added the heavy sniper, they also added the C4, which was, like you guys were saying, everyone wanted the heavy sniper to remove, and that's the same with the C4. And then here they are adding both of those items back
Together.
into the game. So it's just I don't really know too much about that, but I really liked when it had the heavy snipers in the two spots because I really had the risk and reward. And then he also brought up the fact of like low ping and like people heavy sniping in. The heavy sniper, I feel like it gives like a really clear indication, like a loud click when you know what's coming out. And it's
Yeah.
not like a regular sniper where you can shoot it straight away. There's like actually a good amount of delay, so you can sort of feel it coming. So I think there is a reaction. But I think the bigger issue is actually double heavy snipes. Sort of always being able to, you have to always be holding your walls and just be super aware. And I think that takes a lot of the fun out of the game, allowing double heavy snipers to be so prevalent.
I want to reiterate what you like, just clarifying what you said before. There's an audible click and a delay on the heavy sniper, which is useful if they're like on your walls, but still doesn't really help in the, you know, getting shot from the other side of half and half situations, right? Or, you know, halfway across the map.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Especially, you know, the problem with double heavy sniper is how the pinging ability to mark things is super broken, right? You can't mark walls. The ping will go right through it. But if there's a player on the backside, it'll mark them and it'll look like the wall's marked. And you know right where they are for your double heavy snipe, which is so mind-bogglingly busted. Like, they should just turn off pings, like, in competitive playlists for right now. Like, that's crazy to me. It's just like a free wall hack. Just ping walls till you find the guy, shoot at him twice. Like, you're done. I don't know, Shao, how you feeling about the increased spawn rate and
Well, like
getting into boxes?
Heavy sniper is kind of like, you guys can agree or disagree. It was like the sensational item of like coming back in Fortnite. Other than the only other item in that category would be like the gold pump when it got first introduced, and it was so easy to just come back in a fight. Like, you know, you take Booga's World Cup journey. If you didn't have a heavy, wouldn't have won one of the most important games, I believe, unless I saw a clickbait title on YouTube. But like, you know, he used that gun in the way it's supposed to be used. You know, your shambles, and then you have a huge big wall up shot that puts you right back in the game. That was missing. We had that conversation about metas, like in the last meta. And now it's back. That gets things a little bit more creative, a little bit less boring. But like, there's a seesaw meter, right? Like, the more you do it, the less integrity you have with the game. It's like, I still feel like we're a little bit too early in it. Yeah, double heavy sniping sucks. The more we speculate, I also feel like, and I wanted to mention this with Resprit, but you know, my man had interview questions for Quinn. Like, when it comes to when we theorize things about the game, we always assume that like end game, mid game, we're playing on perfect servers in these like glorified moments. Like, a lot of the time, this heavy sniper action comes in like the 4th, 5th zone when no one can like properly place walls or hear things.
That's also
the same
true.
way you do off spawn, the same way we do when we watch like our season 7, 8 highlights. Like, it's very hard, like, as a player to adapt to that. And it's also like, you know, it's just weird on when you're actually writing on a paper versus just looking at the finished essay. Like, it's different.
Yeah, and like, you know, take away like how hard it is, like, you know, the lag issues, can't place walls to block that kind of stuff anyway. Like, the simple fact of the matter remains, you know, I'm kind of a conversation with Clay Stelling in the chat here. Feel free to call in, Clay. But like, it still just does so much damage and like so quickly that at an unbelievable range, right? Like, the range is a big part of it. That someone can open up and shoot you with a heavy sniper, like you said, there's a delay, but it's not that great of a delay, right? It's not like significantly greater than even like the pump pullout. And so, you know, all it is an open wall, bam, you know what I mean? Shot as you're rotating wherever it is. Of course, you should be covered. Of course, all these things. I don't know. It's hard for me to like explain all the ways I feel like it's just wrong in the game. I think the biggest parts for me are how it affects early and mid game. Like, there are late game issues, but they're more avoidable because you're always ideally going to be covered in most situations anyway, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're gonna get lasered by something, right? It's more
just-
early and mid game where your game is just ended in an unreactable way, like literally unreactable, right? Like someone comes over a hill, 100 meters back, you know, you're looking, but you didn't check right as they came over the hill, and now you're dead, right? Like those are the parts that really frustrate me, and it's the same complaint I have about like bushes in general, right? And bushes and golden ogs, right? Or like whatever. It can lead to those same sort of unreactable situations. I mean, I'll take this moment to stand on my soapbox about C4 because it's exactly the same thing, right? Like in most situations, it's not about adjusting to like how to play or just not playing the meta right. You know, on Reddit, people are saying things like, you just can't play so tight and tunnely in end games. You got to play more spaced out. You mean like in the zone? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you hear a beep and either you're spending a ton of, like, you hear a beep and you get lucky that they're slow on their detonations and you spend a ton of mats and draw a lot of fire because now you're in fresh builds, right? And you're wasting mats and people see explosions happening. Or you're just dead because the guys in the box next to you were spraying their minigun and you didn't hear the C4 stacking on your face, right? Like that's just unreactable. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think that stuff doesn't have any space in the game, like at all. Like C4, heavy sniper. I don't know. HomieQuinn, how do you feel about this whole situation?
So I think C4 is worse than a heavy sniper.
Yeah.
So everyone always hated snipers, but I think the reason why they make heavy snipers so accessible is because of the casual players. I feel like casual players, they were missing out on finding that snipers since they took out the regular snipers. And now I feel like, you know, them adding the amount of heavy snipers they do everywhere around the map is sort of just like catering to the casual players, allowing them to have their sniper that they can get, you know, a one-shot kill and
Cheeky
they can be
kills
happy
with
for the rest of the day.
yeah.
So
Especially,
yeah.
which doesn't make a lot of sense to me anyway, because in pubs, a regular sniper's a one-shot kill half the time, right? So
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of shield in the game right now. That might not be totally fair, but yeah, I agree. It's nonsense. There's a lot of them. I don't. To me, the fact that there's a lot of them is better than if there were few. I don't think balance by rarity is a thing. Like I don't like just because something's less likely to happen to you doesn't make it any less bullshit that it happened to you, right? Like if they made C4 less rare and that was the only change they made, like great. Instead of 8 people like losing their game, it's just one guy, but it's still just as incredibly unfair for that one guy as it was for the 8, right? And I don't think that should be a thing at all. Heavy sniper, C4, whatever it is. All right, Thrills, thanks so much for bringing in this topic, man. I hope you have a fantastic evening.
Thank you.
Love you, bro.
See you again later.
peace out.
Peace.
What's up?
Yo, so I wanted to bring up this tweet. I wanted to bring this up a couple episodes ago, but I kept just spacing it. This was a tweet RBK Left Eye. He's a controller scrimmer. He tweeted out a little while back, you know, sort of at the height of these aim assist conversations, that if you are not on controller and W keying, then you're falling behind on the meta. Kind of a big tweet. It garnered some attention. I think it could have garnered more. What do you guys think of that take? Like, I'm basically all in one that encompasses, do you guys think controllers are the wave right now? Like, criticisms of aim assist aside, like, are they so good that you think some players should be switching?
So I think he was sort of trolling with that tweet. But again, it has some truth to it, as the fact that controller players is, you know, they have so many benefits. I just think it's, you know, the fact that they don't, you know, they have the aim assist because they don't need to hit their shots precise because they can have like that small correction, so it makes their shots more consistent. And I feel like that's like the issue is because they can go into a fight having that confidence and also having, you know, the aim to back it up to sort of win like the fight or do damage.
I mean, like, is he saying this for winners, or is he saying this for people who want a quick buck? Because I can just go get a bachelor's degree, we can go get a job, I can make money that way. Like the winners, the most recent ones have been European 15-year-old lords at the very top of the ladder playing on mouse and keyboard, right? I'm talking
True.
DMAC and you know, a bunch of pop-off players, MNK, all the way, you know, top to bottom. The controller players are sprinkled in there a little bit, but like when it comes to historic placements, like time and time again, like I just see mouse and keyboard players during tournaments usually on top. When it's always like this one-off show match, when it's like the Elite Cup, when it's AO, like for some reason controller players dominate and win. But if we're talking about a grueling day, like having that two-handed space, just one on your mouse, one on your WSD, like you're chilling, right? I feel
That's
like
the
that
difference.
controller
The
breaks
zone
under
control.
pressure. Yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, but seriously, I think that whatever input you are, it's just preference and comfortability, man. Like, don't make yourself uncomfortable playing GTA 5 if you want to play Fortnite. You feel me? Because like that's basically what people are recommending. Like if you're cool being Nico, go Nico. But if you're not, like you chill.
All right. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's a great assessment. You know, obviously we have seen controller players on teams like an FNCS do incredibly well, right? But it's still a predominantly mouse and keyboard dominated leaderboard, right? Even when a controller player, you know, tops out in first. We always talk about, is this something to do with like controller players are getting smarter? You know, they've always been able to be this good. Now they're just getting smarter. Like, I don't think it's anything like that. This feels a little conspiracy to me because there's a lot of smart controller players and a lot of great controller players. The thing that, you know, I'd be interesting to see one of the Fortnite competitive analytics companies kind of dive into this a little more, because it'd be interested to see how, like, because it is Battle Royale and there is RNG and there is luck. I'm not saying that this is what happened, but it'd be interesting to see the data, some sort of like blessed by RNG data around hugely pop off controller performances versus hugely pop off keyboard performances, right? Like, our keyboard and mouse players that are topping these leaderboards like Savage and Benji regularly, are they consistently performing well through bad RNG? Or are they getting lucky a lot when they win, right? And vice versa, our controller players that are coming out on top and winning these sorts of events, are they getting lucky a lot in ways that benefit their input? Or are they just incredibly consistent and great at slaying out and hitting tags when it matters, right? Like, I'd be interested to see some statistics around that.
The stats, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Why am I trying to say the full word? I'm trying to look cool. All right. We got our... Oh, that didn't work. Hold up. All right. We got our next caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Vanji. I'm calling from the best city in the north of the Eastern Hemisphere, or Western Hemisphere, rather, Toronto. And my take today is that...
Are you in a game?
Yeah, dude, you cranking right now?
I'm not cranking right now. I'm chilling. But my take today is that Fortnite competitive is getting into a really good spot. We're getting way more comms than we are before. Like, we went from a spot of they didn't even talk about squads.
What?
And I think we're getting more comms. Like, they talked about how they didn't want to announce anything because
that's one comm.
No, but also look, we came from a point where they didn't even talk about squads. It didn't even exist. It was like your creepy uncle you didn't want to talk about. And now we're at a point where DreamHack, an event they're not even running, is getting like coverage by them. Like, obviously not like a full studio coverage.
It's getting a couple tweets. That's a good point. Yeah, they tweeted more about DreamHack than they did about some of the FNCS series.
I know.
So coverage by them.
I'm so sorry. I meant like they're tweeting about, they're acknowledging the existence.
Okay.
Squads, they didn't even. I didn't mean to discredit the hard work you
No, it's not discrediting the hard work. I thought I missed something, man. I was like, where was, I'm just saying.
You're like, wait, what?
But I think with that, it comes like the more local lands are gonna happen, like DreamHack. Like, when I'm thinking about, obviously we're more progressive in esport than we were a year ago, but you have to know that, like, War Legends, I think a lot of people, I felt like that was a bigger deal than more people thought it was, because if you look at the Epic terms of service, you have to get their permission to have an event with a prize pool bigger than 25K. So for that to happen, Epic is approving these events, and I think we're gonna get a lot more of that.
Okay, I mean, hey, optimistic thoughts.
It's definitely an optimistic point
We love
of view.
some glass half full stuff. How's your glass looking, Quinn? What do you think? As a man in the trenches, fighting every day, at a shot to the top, is the hole looking big?
So I don't think so, because I remember like probably like a year ago or 2 years ago, we were getting weekly updates. We don't even get patch notes in it now. So like, we have to go into the game for ourselves and figure out everything and see what changed. You know, I think probably the best way is like, if they would release some patch notes, that'd be nice. But I feel like the whole DreamHack
that would be nice.
Was by Fortnite too. It was DreamHack Anaheim featuring Fortnite was how it was branded. So it was almost like that they had to, tweet about the DreamHack and stuff. So
no, that's how every like event has to be branded. It has to say featuring Fortnite.
So what do you mean exactly? Because they had like Counter-Strike games at DreamHack too, but
No,
it
I
was
mean like if you
No,
in the Epic Terms of Service, like you can't say like Fortnite Cup or
okay.
whatever. It has to say featuring like Fortnite. But I mean like also they didn't really cover winter, and now
That's
they're
true.
covering this one. So I think it's progress that I feel like I'm optimistic. I think that's true, but I think it's progress
And
steps in
generous
the
with the
right
word
direction.
covering.
I mean, I got a point for both sides. In terms of winter, there was like 17 million regions to cover on 18,000 consoles or
Yep.
types of consoles, right? So coverage for that kind of iffy. I feel like that was just like a one-off. Not sure if it's comparable. At the same time, I think their comms are very high, like 100%. Like they've been communicating more than ever. Every game I get communication. Every time I get heavy sniped and C Ford, they're sending me messages of exactly what they want in the game. So like, I agree with you in that sense, but with positive communication, as I was saying like before the show started, I just wish that with the fact that, instead of treating it like a movie coming out where you just have to tease it, you have to get everything when it starts. Like, why can't I just have a schedule for the whole year? Like, why do we have to wait
Yeah, that would
for
be
the
ideal.
day the queue goes live to hear like, oh, in 2 weeks, this is what's happening. Like, there's livelihoods.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like what we got isn't like communication, like really in the sense that competitive players care about. That's not what we've had in the last while. Like we've had none of that, which is part of the problem. The only communication we had is, a month, 2 months into silence on like the actual share with us information side of things was a wait longer. I mean, but it was better than that. It was like, here's what we're working on and why the delay's been so long, which is greatly appreciated. But it's a little bit and it's very late, and we need a lot more.
We came from like, or like most people in my opinion came from like PUBG, came from other games that were in like lower states. Like League, I think was patch 8.11 when people switched over in the summer, where like they killed ADCs, and PUBG was all buggy. And we like Fortnite because every week we got like an update as to what was coming out, and this is what we're thinking about this. Yeah, they could be thinking stupid things, but I'd rather watch someone think stupid than someone not think at all. You know what I mean? And I've just been watching no thoughts, which kind of sucks. So like, I just want to go back to like, you talk about creepy uncles. I just want my dad back, man. I want my dad back in the store. Him dropping facts or like dropping other things on me, whatever it is. Like, I just want to know what's going on, because it kind of sucks. Day 83 out here. Like, it's like, what, man, I just want to know.
Also, I think one thing that my whole take is based on the assumption I have that right now, if this patch was stable, if we're able to have moving zones and actually build like it wasn't 18 months ago, that we would have an announcement. So right now, in my mind, the one thing that's holding them back is the game just isn't ready for whatever reason that may be.
Well, I mean, we know why it's not ready. Performance is dog. Like that's
no, I mean like for whatever reason, like back end, like whatever is the Chaos Engine or like all the like C4 blowing up into your box.
whatever it is. Yeah, totally. Well, thanks Muvanji, thanks a bunch for bringing this topic to us.
Well, thank you for having me once again. It was nice to meet you, Quinn.
Nice meeting you too, brother.
Okay, bye guys, have a great night.
Peace out.
All right, Gwen, we have a tradition here on Hotline FN.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about this tradition. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I gotta know, man. What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
Breakfast cereal? I had some, so probably Cinnamon Toast Crunch if I had to choose one.
Hey, that's a decent pick.
I like some Cheerios in my life. If I'm trying to be a little bit healthier, obviously with honey. And then I had some Frosted Flakes recently, and they were really good. So,
oh yeah,
Frosted Flakes are my number one.
Slapping the Frosted Flakes. Okay, Tony the Tiger, they're great. All right, yeah. I can feel that. That's pretty cool. Hey, this is like one of the best answers we've gotten on this show. I think Aussie Antics tried to tell me that he was into Wheat Bix.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? That doesn't sound like the kind of thing I want to eat.
I was in the stream and he said he never had a corn dog. So.
Oh my god.
I don't know. He's missing out on some American food. So if he comes out here, I'm gonna treat him good.
Yeah, Shyo, we're changing tracks here. This is now Hotline FN, the live call-in show where we talk about just how whack Aussie Antics is.
Oh no.
Just kidding. Shout out to Aussie Antics.
No Aussie.
Follow him on everything.
In my vicinity.
Yeah, no kidding. That dude's a blessing to our community.
He's amazing.
From on high.
Welcome, dude. Where are you calling from? What's your topic? Talk to me, brother.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Nick, and I'm from New York City. And Today, my topic that I'm calling in about is, and I know what I wrote, it's changed a little bit in my head, but mainly the fact that like North America East is the best region in terms of having players come from other regions to move to boot camp and practice. And I see that we've seen this recurring theme of now RichHomieQuinn doing it, someone that placed really well at DreamHack. Also Zore, Parpy, Jalen doing that last year in the trios or the one of the FNCS things. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but yeah, I think it was the trios. And I'm guessing there's a reason behind this. I don't know exactly why, but we've seen this happen over and over again. And especially now, Reeple's got him. Was he the one that he really didn't play a lot of competitive and he didn't practice much, but he still played really well? Was
Yeah.
that him?
Yeah, I think so.
So I guess, we'll see how much better he plays now, being that he's going to get better practice than what he would get in OCE. So I'm just, pretty excited to see how he does. But yeah, basically saying that NA East is like the best boot camp region. And we've seen lots of players perform well after moving from their home region to come play over here.
So I mean, RichHomieQuinn's a similar situation to what we're waiting to see out of Parpy and Volks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that'd be pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, Shyo, you are on the only one here who's on the East Coast. Even though you've aligned yourself heavily with us West Coast boys a lot in the last couple of weeks. What do you think? What do you think of this take?
I agree with the take, and it's because of frequency and availability of scrims, and quality. On average, like East has the most running at the highest levels, at the longest times. Like, yeah, West at times can have higher quality scrims, but they don't run the same amount of length. They don't have the same amount of tier. It's like 2 tiers, and I believe the lower tiers are very lower quality compared to a lot of East lower tiers. Like we have 3 tiers of East Opens that run every now and then. But when it comes to East, like it's kind of like, if it may not be the region producing the most results like in tournaments, but when it just comes to day-to-day practice, you can like hyperbolic time chamber for my DBZ fans, like, and I hope that's the right anime, Jesus Christ. But you can literally practice like scenarios you wouldn't even be in game, and if you perfect those and just get used to high pressure environments like as much as possible, like you pop off. And like if you're in Europe, you can only be in the high pressure environment maybe once a week. If you're in West, you can only do it 4 hours a day because these guys care about school a lot for some reason. If you're in OCE, it doesn't exist. Not sure if Brazil's woken up yet. They had like one dude at World Cup. Where are they? I don't know. Middle East, they have their players in East now, right? So it's like, if you want high pressure all the time and that's the way you want to practice, that's how you should be practicing in BRs. It's East. So
Yeah. I mean,
So one more thing.
Nick.
Would you say that like it's East is producing better practice for these players that are coming over, or would you say that you think it's more that there's these diamonds in the rough in OCE, and like once they come over, their talent really shines because there's more credit to their performance and stuff like that? Because I know it's easy to be discredited playing well in like a lesser
region.
See, so when it comes to OCE, and this is going to be the hottest take I think I've said, I don't think their playstyle exists. I don't think that region, like its top players, exist on an international level. Like the playstyle they have correlates with Middle East, like the most, not Middle East, NA East the most. Because a lot of the players watch a lot of NA East VODs. A lot of the players that they study on West get a lot of their mainline meta strats from East. And a lot of players who've learned from East, I think the biggest meta boom was like a lot of pros VOD reviewing Riverson, and like his kind of gameplay became like the East meta. But like a lot of where people like pops off, a lot of OC that pops off is like kind of learning a lot from East and East VODs. Like there are certain styles of play. I think the most prevalent ones would be like East, West, and Brazil. I'm not sure like what OCE does specifically, and my take might be ignorant, so like you guys can help me figure it out. But from a lot of what I see, it's very like NA East gameplay styles from what I see. And just Diamonds of the Rough, like, yeah, they're there, but are they playing their game, or are they really good at playing ours and they're just trapped there? Is like the main question I would ask.
Sure, and I think another point to that is that NA East is great at producing content around themselves and around other players in NA East. So that some of the main learning tools beyond going straight to VODs is all out of NA East, right? Like, you know, of course, that goes hand in hand with the high skill, which goes hand in hand in practice, but it's like a self-feeding loop where once a region's on top like that, it's kind of hard to unseat them, right? Unless you're someone like you who because of a player base alone always has the potential to just like get their prac in order and flip it all around, right? And kind of take that spot. Obviously, Quinn, you're not like enthused to hear us talk about how NA East is the best.
So my sort of take on this is that I feel like NA East has the most predictable meta. So I feel like that's why OCE players, you know, I think there's tons of really good OCE players. One of them that's going to be coming to NA East here soon is Looter. I'm pretty sure he's still coming to NA East. He did really well at Australia Open. And I think his playstyle will sort of, you know, correspond with NA East if he gets, you know, a good duo, good trio, whatever the meta is at the time. But I do agree. I think it's also confidence. I feel like the people in OCE, like the really good players are so much better than everyone else. So they just have this confidence and this bullying that they can do. And that can sort of correlate and work really well on NA East, because I feel like NA East sort of has more of a, they're more smarter players. So, you know, if you are more aggressive and you know how to, you know, W-kin someone's box and end a fight fast, I feel like that you can get rewarded more playing on NA East. I feel like Thome does that really well. Thome was a West Coaster. He was really good at fighting.
Yeah.
In cash cups and tournaments, he would go over to NA East and he was be able to just, you know, roll some of the players just because he was really used to that aggressive play style. While NA East, I feel like they're really smart players. They know how to rotate and they just know like the basic meta.
Yeah, the way to play that. I get in arguments with people all the time. I feel like I spend a lot of time arguing on Reddit from work these days. I get a lot of arguments all the time, I feel like, with people about like why the meta is what the meta has been. And it's not that like West has a different meta that like works well when players are just like being obnoxious when you're trying to rotate into zone and stuff. Like, no, like that's just a low percentage play. Like that is not the play to make consistently to score as many points as you can in as many games as you can. And like it literally, you know, people say it all the time, but a lot of people have a hard time understanding it at this point. New players come in and they just hear, you know, like zone fighting just like ruins, you know, everybody's game. And then people go like, you just can't handle it. Like you're just not good enough. And it's like, no. Just like step backwards a little bit and understand the history and like why the meta is what it is, because it's for good reasons. You know what I mean? Like like it's all about mitigating risks. And when you can, and the game, I mean, it's just like playing like a fighting game, right? You're playing a fighting game against a good player who is good, you know, you're playing a mind game, right? Like you're not like getting hard reads as often and that kind of thing. If you're playing against someone who's trash, yeah, everyone's just like throwing buttons out and, you know, just having a weird time, and it doesn't matter, right? It's similar as in Fortnite. Cool. Thank you so much, Granaside, for bringing this topic. I think we got a special guest who wants to talk. You know, keep it on this, Shyo. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, we got a special slide in over here.
Special
with
slide in
through.
Ooh,
Yeah, so,
a slider with fries. Let's bring it in.
Let's drag him in.
Happy
All right.
birthday to we got 11 birthday boy 18. Slide into those DMs, ladies.
Happy birthday, man.
You know, I'm here. Hit me up.
You in bed right now?
Sounds like you in bed.
Yeah,
you talking
I
through a
have
pillow?
no PC, bro. My
Jesus
PC
Christ.
broken.
Oh yeah. Oh, rest in peace.
True.
Yeah.
11, what do you want to add to this conversation, birthday man?
So, you know, everyone knows me. I love EU. I talk all day about EU. But there's real problems with EU. Shai was just talking about how like OCE, right? A lot of their playstyle is incredibly similar to the playstyle of NA East. You know, kind of just because a lot of them kind of watched NA East, right? You know, when they were grinding, coming up and developing their styles, they were watching a lot of NA East, and I, you know, it reminds me of a take I had a really long time ago before I even had my podcast or anything, where I said to people, I said, the reason why EU has so many brain dead W keyers is because back in the day, the only people we could watch were flipping Mongra. Like literally, I'm pretty sure there was a time when like Mongra was the only big player from EU streaming his gameplay, right? So it was literally a thing where all these kids are just, coming up learning about comp, watching Monga W keywords, and then they usually all these players like Bizzle streaming. You can watch Bizzle, he's super smart. I'm pretty sure Zayt used to stream back then as well. Like, you had all the smart players, and it's like the actual culture behind EU has just kind of built around that, because that's just how that's just who people came up watching. And I feel like it's a big part of the reason why our practice is so terrible. Like, we are having so many problems on the day-to-day where big pros as well are like getting in trouble for W keying in practice and ruining it. And it's
Well, and it doesn't help that we've sort of evolved into a spot where, for good reason, a lot of the smart, pros who are approaching, sorry, man, I'm stumbling all over myself. When pros are taking their practice particularly seriously, often they're not streaming it, right? And that has a big impact. I'm not trying to say like it's your fault for not streaming your practice. It's your practice, and you getting better at the game comes first,
no, it's their
right?
fault. Blame them.
No, but so now we're in a place where, like, in an awkward place where you're right. Like, maybe there weren't the best examples coming up, and now the best examples, they aren't always available. To see what that practice culture can and maybe even should look like. I don't know, which is why I have a lot of respect for guys like RichHomieQuinn, who's constantly grinding and constantly streaming it and showing what good practice looks like. I retweeted a tweet the other day. Actually, I was watching Quinn, and somebody just like opened a box before the zone rules and just like shot at you twice. And immediately you hopped into a Discord call with a bunch of other people. You're like, who else is in this scrim? I got someone for you. You called out their location. You guys all rushed them with rocket launchers and nades. You were like, we're upholding the integrity of this practice. Damn it. Like, it was great.
That's
it was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It was good stuff. You have any extra thoughts here, Quinn?
Yeah, so sort of my mentality on EU pack, I don't watch too much EU, so my opinion may not, matter. I feel like some of the pros in EU, though, they sort of have that mentality of, if I allow these up and coming people to practice, then I'm going to give them a chance to sort of replace me or whatnot. So sort of the top of the top players griefing pro scrims sort of, allows them to stay at that high point and also ruin practice for people who are trying to grind and get up to that pro level. So I think, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but that can also be another thing. They're like, oh, well, I like how it is right now. All my friends are the top of the top. Let me just ruin everyone else's practice so they can't get better.
Oh, gosh.
No. Do you know what's crazy? I genuinely agree with you. Like, there is that arrogance in EU where genuinely the top of the top, like, it hurts me to say this, right? But I will openly say and honestly say, when it comes to the average pro player, I genuinely believe NA East is better than EU. I just, where my bias is where the top of the top. I believe the top of the top EU versus the top of the top NA, no chance. West or East, no chance. But like,
did you watch DreamHack?
All right, buddy. All right, EU on top, Savage on top, injected. Like the top of the top in EU, they have this. They've always had this mentality of, like, we're chilling. I'm at the top of the top. I don't give a damn who has practice. I'm fine. And it's so selfish, and it literally hurts the whole region, because it's like, we have times where a bunch of these top of the top weren't even practice, right? So half of them weren't even practice. So then we have to get shitters to fill the practice so that it's somewhat practice. But then when that other half decide I want to play again, it's like, why the shitters here? Well, you weren't playing, so we had to get the shitters. Like, it's your fault. So like, it's an endless cycle of just a bunch of selfishness. And like, I envy NA. I sit here and watch NA practice every night, like crying my eyes out, wishing we could have something.
You know what I think is a great boon that helps to kind of combat that is having someone like Aussie Antics in your scene, right? Somebody who's not afraid to like be there for like when shitters are invited into the practice and they're not doing well. Someone like Aussie will take them under his wing. You know what I mean? Like he'll for free be like, yeah, here's why you're losing and you're not doing well. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like he'll really push the average skill. He pushes the average skill level of his region up, right? Like he just does live every day, doing VOD reviews of every event. He's, like I think that Bala is someone similar. I think what's unique about Ozzy is just how often he's live, right? The day starts, he goes live, he's there. He's there to talk to people during events, after events. He's like taking user VOD reviews all the time. Like say what we want about OCE. I think Aussie Antics is a great example of what EU could potentially use, any region could use, and especially us bigger regions could use multiple of these sorts of people. And we have people who do fill that gap. We just need more. That pushes that average skill level up of people. You say shitters, but like it's still like highly competitive, very good players who just need that little bit of more encouragement to get up to that next level. And then suddenly all of practice is doing way better because you got more people who can fill that skill level, right?
Yeah, Tim, do you know who doesn't get their flowers in NA? Convertibles. I don't know if you guys remember convertibles, right?
Of course,
Like
we've had
a lot of
convertibles.
people didn't like. Pardon?
Yeah, we've talked to convertibles on the show before. Convertibles incredible.
Yeah.
Please continue. Talk them up. I want to hear it.
Bro, so convertibles used to be really heavily involved in who got into practice in NA East or whatever, and he used to do like the VOD reviews on stream, right? And
Yep.
it's like, he's basically deciding on stream your fate, like if you get in or not. And even once people got in, they were on like a leash, like it was like flipping schools and kids are getting bullied. Like you come in and you were like, oh, you going through convertibles VOD review, like you better perform well or you're out. Like, and people didn't like that system, but genuinely I think it helped NA so much, like in terms of like one, it was just helping people improve because everybody was like, well, not everyone, but a bunch of people would be in those streams because they just wanted to get in. But while you're in those streams, you're observing so much knowledge, like you're watching VOD reviews, so you're improving. He's setting a standard that everybody can watch and view and say, hey, look, you don't reach this standard, so you're not getting into the practice. Like,
Yeah.
and I genuinely think if we had something like that in EU, it would be so great. It would be so great. Like just somebody there, like as much as people don't like this whole dictatorship and that stuff, and like people are like, yes, just do it off of PR so we can prove. Nah, we've tried that. Like we need someone to come in and be like you said, like someone who's just going to set the standard and be like, nah, this is what you need. Sorry, you're not providing. Hey, look,
Yeah.
this is what you can do to get to the standard.
I think in almost every situation where you want to improve yourself and someone else wants you to improve, having set metrics drives that improvement way better than just an ambiguous, you're not good enough yet. Like, when am I good enough? Like, you're not good enough yet. Get on the power rankings or whatever. And I think we've seen a lot of that kind of opening up with like ladders and that kind of thing where the criteria is clearly set out, like this is how good you have to be. You know what I mean? You have to be able to do this. If you could do this, you're in. And attainable goals like that are what help people drive themselves to get better, right? They know where they need to be getting, right? That falls apart at the highest level where the goal is I need to be ahead of and better than everybody else. But to get to the stage where you're participating in that kind of practice, having those set achievable goals, I think is huge. Whether it's set explicitly through things like T1 ladders, prior to the current open setup, or more slightly more ambiguously through things like what Convertibles was doing back in the day.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, Levin. Thanks for bringing this take. I really appreciate it.
Love you guys. Have a nice show.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Peace. Alrighty, guys. Man, that's all I'm talking about practice. I guess it's a relevant topic, what with Shyowager and RichHomieQuinn in the house, and throwing an EU kid, and we're 18, throwing an EU man, and we're just like zooming, you know what I'm saying? We're just zooming with it. All right, I think you guys ready to just hop right into the next caller? We're getting close here. Submissions are closed as we take our last couple of topics. So let's bring in the next person. Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey guys, Cisco calling from Jersey.
Yo, what's up, Cisco? Welcome back to the show.
Hey man, I have a hot topic. This is gonna be, it's kind of weird. I think this is more addressing towards a casual community and the general audience that has fallen off of Fortnite and is trying to get back in and just keeps using the excuse everyone's gotten better and I can't catch up. One of the biggest things I've noticed for me, because I switched from controller to mouse and keyboard, is that you don't really need to be extremely mechanically gifted at the game to be good at it. If you focus mostly on your rotations, your high IQ plays, hitting your shots, and practicing all the basics, you'll be winning most of your fights and you'll be outplaying most of the people. And then if you practice scrims and if you study the game and if you VOD review, that just takes you to a whole new level. So I feel like that's something that we should be talking about more. It's just focus on the basics. Don't try to be Benji. Don't try to be these crazy creative pros, because that doesn't really get you anywhere when you should be focusing on your fundamentals.
Okay, I mean, Quinn, you probably, not even probably, definitely you practice more than anybody in this Discord room right now. I mean, I don't want to, Cisco, you probably grind super hard. You practice harder than Shyo and I. So what's your opinion on this take?
Well, I'm like what you described, right? Like I'm a really high IQ person, but you know, you can have all these thoughts and the game plan, but when it comes to execution, you know, that's something that I lack. You know, making sure that you hit your shots gets you out of so many situations, right? I could do the perfect edit, you know, I could do the perfect ramp and all this stuff, but if I don't hit you harder than you'll hit me most of the time, then sometimes it
Fight's over.
doesn't
Yeah.
always work out. I feel like, you know, if you have really good aim, it definitely rewards you in this meta. Um, but yeah, I think it's, you know, I don't think it's like one-sided. I think it's balance, right? If you can balance what or focus on what
Yeah.
your weakness is, I think that's how you become a better player, right? If you're really good at, you know, being smart, maybe you need to do a little bit more box fights, you know, more PGs and get your mechanics up. And it's just being able to VOD review, like you were saying, and seeing where your weaknesses are and just focus on your weakness.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Shyo, you got any thought here?
Well, like it's always like an order of operations when it comes to like practice and becoming a better player. But then like we come back to that point of like, where do you want to be? Like, do you just want to be good, or do you want to like win events, or do you want to place the money? Like, you have to do things in a certain way. 100% like practicing the fundamentals and the more game sensey stuff is probably the way to improve the fastest. But there's gonna come a certain point like very fast where like you just hit a wall and like not even VOD reviewing is gonna save you. Like it'll get you past that wall a little bit, like maybe through that open door, but then to full sprint past that street, like your mechanics and like your box to box gameplay, like that's where you find the answer. Because like nowadays, getting into end game, winning that box fight in 5 seconds is what you need to be doing like at the top level. If it goes to 6, like you may as well not even take the box fight. Like sometimes that is the margin of error you have, like literally half-second decisions. So like and that's where your mechanics come into play. Obviously, to get into a scrim, to get to that point, you have to do that fundamental part first. But the number one thing I would recommend is the biggest thing new players are having an issue with is theory crafting. Like, stop and play the game. Like, if you're not thinking about the stuff while you're in a box in a script, you're wasting your time. If I know a bunch of people who literally told me they watch Hotline while playing arena solos. Like, shout out to you. I'm pretty sure I called in one time trying to get points 20 weeks ago almost. So like
I've been grinding this whole time. You don't know, but I got my foot pedals out. Like I'm playing right now. I'm sitting in my box.
No, it's like you have to just be. Fortnite's one of those games where like although it can't like we can't be playing during the midnight hours like from 12 to 3 as efficiently. I mean on East you can now with that late night ladder. You can be grinding 24/7, right? Like in League there was this thing, or like in most games it's called like I think it's like loot fear or like ranked fear. It's like a fear of basically losing what you have. But like the more you think about it, you're not using it. Do you technically really have it? Are you really gaining anything? It was like a term used in Tarkov for people who didn't want to play the game after one good run. But it's like just keep playing, man. Like the more you lose, the better it is. Because like if you don't do it now, you're gonna do it in a tournament, and then your parents are gonna hate you because they're like, "Why are you in a room for 20 hours?" Right? Like, what happened? Where's the money? Like nothing to show, bro. Like get to playing so you don't choke when it matters. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. I mean, yeah, chat points out like that's ladder anxiety, ranked anxiety, as you hear it in other games, right? Yeah, pretty classic. Yeah, I think that I agree that there's a balance, right? And I think that it comes down to a lot is like tiebreakers, right? Because two people could be performing successful strats in the same lobby, right? Like equally successful but different strats in the same lobby. They can be high IQ in it all the way, but in the end, what's gonna matter is if I got one more point than you did, right? If I was able to either out IQ you or out mechanic you, and at some point, those super advanced mechanics do make the difference. At the highest of highest levels, right? Like when you first submitted this topic, Cisco, you talked about knowing how like it isn't necessarily necessary to know all of the like phase tricks and like when you can sneak shots in when people's hand is through a build, like all that kind of stuff to be successful. But knowing and utilizing those tricks, while I agree, not necessary to always perform well, those are ways to mitigate RNG in a sense. They make your games more consistent by having more control over every moment of your gameplay, right? The more you know and the more you're able to exploit, the more consistent your gameplay becomes on the whole, helps you get out of situations where your high IQ wasn't enough, helps you bully through those situations, and helps you break leaderboard ties where you were doing well and others were. So I from my vantage point, I agree that especially in the metas we've had recently, high IQ play, strong game sense, even if Respirate hates the term, is like that's meta, that's the wave, right? But when it comes down to it, like, you're still gonna have a moment where you got to kill Mr. Savage, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, you're still gonna have to outperform him, right? And he's smart, and he's cracked out of his mind and knows all of the tricks, right? So I think they go hand in hand. Not to mention that a part of game sense is knowledge of these tricks, not just to be able to perform them, but to know, oh, he's putting a ramp over his head while hitting my box, he's about to jump in here, right? Like,
Exactly.
and those sorts of things.
Yeah, and that was like my main point. It's just like you could have like this huge arsenal of all these exploits, but if you don't know how to use them, it wouldn't really get you anywhere. So I guess if you focused on the basics, you'd be able to, use your things, like use your tools more efficiently,
Yeah.
and then get out of situations. And I think when you have the basics, you could build on that even more, and then all the cracked out stuff gets even better.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? It's the classic analogy of you can be incredibly skilled with a hammer, and then every problem looks like a nail, but you're so damn skilled with the hammer that you still manage to get your way through it. Or you can just continue to broaden your tools, and more importantly, broaden your knowledge of when and how to apply those tools, and that's how you get great, right?
Yeah,
it's the
definitely.
two together. Got to know when to use the hacksaw, and also how to use the hacksaw. And I like saying hacksaw. Thanks so much, Cisco Boy Wonder, for bringing this topic to us all the way from Jersey.
Yeah, dirty Jersey. All right, see you guys on the scrim ladder.
Peace, brother.
Peace out.
Joke's on him. We won't see him on the scrim ladder because we're playing West.
I'm staying on the West Coast. You can't catch me on high ping in this meta anymore.
Yeah,
No.
you ain't catching me on Jersey, dude. Screw that noise. Okay, let me check here before we hop into our last caller. I had some things that I maybe wanted to talk about. Let me make sure I ain't skipping over stuff I want to talk about again. 100 Thieves signing Rex and Mr. Savage in the last couple of weeks. On an Army to NRG. Some pretty big moves. Of course, Lazarus dropping all of their players.
Like, does that stuff ultimately matter?
No, it only matters
drop?
as like from like a personal fan of these players.
Oh yeah,
perspective.
100%.
That's
Okay,
it. That's
cool.
it. Yeah.
Didn't Liquid just pick up Tavern? Is what someone was saying in the chat.
Yeah, while our podcast was going on.
Oh,
so that's an interesting pick.
That's very interesting. Liquid's out here. You know what I'm saying?
Congrats to Tavern, man.
Yeah. GG's only. No re. All right, let's get our final caller in here. Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
So what's up, guys? My name is Tinio, and I'm calling from the West Coast, baby.
Yo! What'd you want to talk about tonight?
I just wanted to first off say that Quinn is looking extra dapper in his collared shirt, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so I wanted to say that considering that the only information we've gotten about the next comp event is that it'll be delayed, I believe that we won't be getting an event until early to late April, and we're going to end up having non-stop events from there on.
Ooh, interesting. You think that we are still likely to get a LAN?
A LAN? Like such as World Cup?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was thinking that I think we will get something along the lines of that. I don't think it's going to be as big, but I think they're just going to have a lot more smaller events.
What do you mean by event?
Like I don't know, like an FNCS, Cash Cup, pretty much anything for money, not a ghost type night.
Wait, I gotta jump in and interject real quick. Chat's letting me know that no one actually got signed to Liquid. It was a debate.
I know. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed now. I got baited.
Picked up Midas, baby.
Anyway, Shyo, you were saying.
Why do you think that? Like, what makes you go through that type of thought process?
Think what exactly?
That we're getting like an event soon.
Well, I was thinking it was going to be early to late April, just considering that if they wait too long, there's going to be interest lost by the general public because there hasn't been anything besides Anaheim for the past 3 months roughly, and they kind of got to do something somewhat soon. They specifically said the only thing they're waiting on is their servers. So if they put all their effort into that, I think they can have that solved by like a month.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's pure speculation, right? The other thing that factors into what sort of events we're going to see is just how COVID-19 plays out, right? It may be due diligence for them to say, you know what, we're not going to do the World Cup yet. You know, we have to hold off. It's the kind of thing where you are getting vendors together 6 months minimum, like in advance, to put on something like the World Cup, right? Like, I don't know, maybe that's a bit much. Epic does like to fly by the seat of their pants, but I mean that's the kind of planning I'd be putting into an event like that, right? So I think that what you're saying is likely in this from the viewpoint of we're going to be getting a lot of online events this year, potentially in lieu of a World Cup. But again, I mean, it's just pure speculation, man. Like, there's not a lot we can say. I mean, I hope you're right. I hope we get a lot of events. I hope we get a lot of events that aren't Cash Cup events. I hope we get more FNCS style stuff. But there's just not a thing we can say. You know, like you said, Shio, it would be relatively easy for them to share what they're thinking. You know, like they told us, we're not going to do any events until this fix is great. Can you tell us like what events we're going to do after you fix it? Like, that'd be cool.
I don't think we're gonna have events, man. That's my personal take. I think that like team-based, like the team-based stuff they were announcing might be towards more of the Cash Cup variety.
Oof.
Like if they're, and I'd rather have them be the Cash Cup variety, because if we don't have like an everlasting process in a sense, well, something just glitched out on my computer. Anyways, if you don't have an everlasting process in a sense of like, you know, this event leads to that event, leads to the next one, you qualify for this higher round, I don't consider it an event. Like the FNCS ultimately had like a no actual goal or stake, or like winning trios didn't matter when the meta changed, and then it was squads.
Sure.
Winning squads didn't matter when the meta changed. Now we have a whole new, you know, map, and everything else is different. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather them have like, you know, something that leads up to something else, or
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna consider it an event at all. So
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like, I want continuity. I want to have. I would like to have a team mode that continues throughout, right? Like we get qualifiers and a large event all in the same team mode. I definitely agree with that. Something interesting, you know, that's on topic here. Bala just chimed in with from chat. Epic canceled the Rocket League World Championship due to COVID-19, the coronavirus that's going around. So it seems pretty likely that a potential World Cup either won't happen or won't happen this summer. You know what I mean? It might be something they hold out till next season or next winter, something like that. It's a, you know, it's kind of a big deal. It's not a hysteria, but it's like you have to take proper precautions or it becomes one, right? So that's kind of a bummer position to be in, but all we can do is sit back and wait and cry some more, wishing that we had more communication. Who was on earlier and said they had great communication so far? Get out of here.
I think that was possibly Muvanji. Yeah.
Damn it, Muvanji. And if it wasn't Muvanji, still damn it, Muvanji. All right. Thanks so much for bringing this topic, brother. I hope you have a fantastic evening.
Yeah, you as well.
Peace out, Litz.
Bye.
Bye.
Another thing that I just wanted to add about that, is that gonna mean that there's gonna be more money in online tournaments? And like, would it be worth moving towards a 0 ping house for those online tournaments? Is something that I was also
thinking. A great, yeah. I mean, if they go back to,
you go. My bad.
No, yeah. I'm gonna hear the rest of it.
Oh, so oh gosh, I forgot. My bad.
all right. I can run with what we have.
I have it.
Bring it.
All right. So the squads FNCS was announced. What, 2 weeks before it was happening? So I could see Fortnite doing something exactly the same. Of, you know, maybe next week they announced 2 weeks. There's going to be solo FNCS, duo FNCS. I definitely see that as a possibility because they've done it in the past, and I feel like, you know, it also brings up instant hype, right? Everyone's going to be wanting to play that game because one, they're probably gonna have to grind for arena since everyone postpones that, playing scrims or whatever they're doing, box fights, other games. So I mean, I think that could be a huge factor when it comes to these next couple of weeks. There might be instantly in FNCS. We didn't even have Squad Arena before they announced Squad FNCS with like 2 weeks, which was kind of crazy. But it's Fortnite. We just have to wait and see what they bring onto us.
Yeah, that's a great point, though. If we run into another online qualifier season, you know what I mean, that spreads over a couple of weeks, or even if it's just a thing like an FNCS, but with high pricing, yeah, 100% it'll be worth it for players who think they're likely to qualify to move to zero ping houses, right? Either boot camp for the duration of the event or permanently move out. It's something we saw with the first World Cup, and I think that there are a lot of players who regret not making that play during the first World Cup who are going to jump on it as soon as something's announced, right? As soon as they can be sure they're making a good decision. Or, you could just move to Texas and try to qualify on both and qualify on none.
Gosh. Oh, no.
The biggest announcement, I think it'll come in the summer when Valorant gets released officially, or they have their info for their league.
Yeah.
Epic has like this track record of letting like the first strike happen with their enemies, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then, clapping back with Share the Love or something else. But if there's a switch up happening, if the events actually mean something, I don't think we'll find out till the summer. But I agree that like maybe in the next couple of weeks, we might have like an announcement for an event.
Yeah, I think that this time period was gonna be popping. I think it was gonna be popping with announcements and all kinds of crazy things from a lot of companies, right? I mean, like, you've had things like GDC, the Game Developer Conference, get canceled. You've had a ton of people back out at E3. You've had, Valorant had to cancel their in-person, testing event that was going to be streamed or broadcast in some way, right? And then all of these things kind of being thrown on their heads by the COVID-19 outbreak has kind of just like put everybody in this weird position of flux of like, we had this all planned out. You were going to announce this, and then we were going to announce this, and things were going to be great. And now everyone's just kind of like, like, what do we do? That's the vibe I'm getting, like, across half the world, not just like with Fortnite, right? And they're all kind of playing into each other's hands here. Everything kind of ground to a halt.
Saving grace for like a lot of people as well. And sometimes it might be bad to say, but like COVID-19, good for viewership in a sense for a lot of esports and streamers as well, because more people are home, more people are watching.
Sure.
It's kind of like summer vibes, right? So there are some positives, but I'd rather have the reality where it doesn't exist. We're flying out, we're doing amazing stuff, and there's cool events.
Yeah, totally agree. I think thanks for mentioning that, Quinn. That was great. Hot take of the night. Let's go. All right. Well, that said, Quinn, why don't you tell us what you're going to be getting up to in the coming weeks, months here, and where people can see you getting up to it?
Well, I'm always streaming on Twitch every single day. My Twitch is RichHomieQuinn. We got 2 N's officially today, so it's right below me, and then my Twitter's right below that. There's a 1 at the very end and 3 N's. I gotta switch that up. I also want to give a huge shout out to TRNL, which is my org. They've been treating me fantastic. And then what else? We got trnl.quinn on Instagram and RichHomieQuinn on YouTube. Active on all socials, grinding it out.
Hit it up.
Get it.
Let's go. And you just partnered on Twitch, so that's big deal over here. This man's grinding, making moves, causing waves. Oh yeah. Well, RichHomieQuinn, you certainly have made my Hotline FN experience this evening much richer.
Thank you so much.
Much more homie filled. Thanks for coming on the show, man, and we're excited to hopefully have you back in the future.
100%. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. All right, we'll catch you later, man.
All right, peace out, guys.
Peace.
Shyo, your turn. What are you gonna be getting up to, and where can people see you getting up to it? And most importantly, before all of that, are we upgrading internet? Like, what's going on here?
My hands have been tied for months, man. In terms of like, in terms of like what I'm gonna be getting up to, truly a mystery, living day by day. Hyped for the Diabolical beta.
Yeah,
on the weekend.
I'm stoked to play more Diabolical, dude. High five.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. 100%. Yo, Quinn. All right, if you want to address what just happened.
Whoa, RichHomieQuinn with that 5 gifted subs to like some serious regulars to the chat. This is fantastic. Thanks so much, RHQ. Hell yeah.
Let's go. One of those sub badges coming in, my man.
As soon as people respond to my Twitter asking for someone to make sub badges for me, I'll pay you.
Nice.
Hit me up. I'll pay you. Like, I believe in paying for art. Let's do this. right, Shio, please continue.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, just like league grind, Fortnite grind, CS grind, 3 main games, and then Diabolical to warm up in between. Get my ass kicked by Bala TW.
By Bala,
and
yeah.
everyone else. Yeah,
Bala kicking
But-
all our asses. Yeah.
just gaming, man, just gaming.
Just gaming. We're just out here gaming. And Shio, people can find you on twitch.tv/Shyowager, at Shyowager
sir.
on Twitter. It's Shyowager everywhere. Are you still dropping content on YouTube?
Possibly in the coming days. We'll see what happens, but no
I don't know.
promises as of now. We'll
Seems to
see.
me like this guy should unpin his pinned tweet about uploading content every day. Am I
We'll
right?
see.
Chat?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Thanks so much, Shio. Thank you for subbing in for the honestly irreplaceable, as great as you've been, Bala TW.
This is true.
I hope you have a fantastic evening, man.
Thank you, man. You too.
I will. I definitely will. All right, everyone. That is it for this episode of Hotline FN. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time. I usually have a good time. Usually. Yeah, all the time. Always. So if you enjoyed what you saw here or are listening to in podcast form after the fact, subscribe, drop a like, drop a follow. That's really helpful. It is actually more helpful than you can imagine. And it's totally free, man. It's so free. It's just like, just click a little button. Done. Done. You're done. Easy support. And of course here we always reiterate, support the things you love. So if you love Shio, follow and subscribe to that man. Force him to put out YouTube videos. You like RichHomieQuinn? If you're hitting exclamation point open in his chat and you are joining these scrims, like, hit that man with the follow. Hit that man with the likes and subscribes. Same goes for Ulrich. Same goes for Levin. Same goes for anyone else who called in this evening. They're contributing content. You're consuming it. Let's support it. All right. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Hotline FN.